What is good, YouTube? Quinn Wade Basketball Analysis coming to y'all with that video. As we all know, the NBA draft is over, and it's a lot of players that didn't get drafted. You have the players overseas, you have the players from college, you have the players that was 3 year, 4 year sophomores in college, and they got overlooked, or they didn't get drafted, or teams didn't need them, they didn't work out good enough, or they just possibly made errors and mistakes off the court. And at the end of the day, the best part about the NBA is a 12-man roster, and the fact that you have the G League allows you to develop and scout talent in summer league too, to see if they can play, see if they can play in the system, see if they can really know their role. Is they buying in? Do they work hard? Most of the time, you don't really know if the person is a hard worker until you get them. I try to tell that to you guys all the time. I don't know how good Emmanuel Mudiay is. I don't really know him at all. If I trade for him, then I get to know if he's a hard worker. Is he? Do he have courage? Do he have heart? Is he this? Is he that? I can only go based off what people say, or what I have heard, or what I have seen. Once you actually get the player in your grasp, and you see how hard they work, or you see how much they want it, you see the intangibles. You have to see it. And sometimes these players sit on the bench, or sometimes these players you draft high up, you think they're going to be good, and then they need to change the scenery, or they just need another opportunity, or they get a chip on their shoulder because they failed. And we see Trey Burke and stuff like that. He was a lottery pick, top 10 pick, didn't really pan out well. Austin Rivers was a top 10 pick, didn't really pan out well. Had a way better year this year and with the Clippers, and so did Trey Burke. Sometimes getting dropped, getting traded, and people giving up on you make you work harder, make you want more. And sometimes the failure. You get in the NBA, you think you're going to be in the league for 5, 6, 7 years. Then you realize it's a business, and you realize people coming in and out of the league each and every day. 1 minute somebody getting waived, 1 minute somebody getting signed, and it could be you. So I want to tell you guys all that because it is true as an NBA player and stuff like I am. So this is a job you have to fight for. You got to want it. You got to be putting the work in, because somebody's always watching. Somebody's always looking, and they always waiting to replace you to do what's best for the organization, because it is a business. So going into that start, I'm about to go into the players I personally feel are the best players that got signed coming out of undrafted. But I think these are not the best players. I just feel like for where they're going and the organization they're going to plays a part too. I'm trying to put in what they did, what they can do, and the system and teams they're going to with the coaches. So keep all that in mind as I list off the honorable mentions. Um, Matt, Matt, um, Duncan Robertson, and Malik Newman. These guys are people that we know can play. We know that can contribute to a team. Malik Newman was a guy that was a highly touted guy in high school. He had to go through college, and then he basically fell face flat, and it hurted his draft stock. It hurted his reputation because he was a dominant show. He was a show in high school, and we thought he was destined for superstardom. He has the range. He's a three-point shooter. He has enough athleticism. He has bounce. He has swagger. He has confidence. But it all failed when he went to college. And that's the thing that's sad about the one and dones too, is you go to college 1 year, you might not have the best season, and you might get injured. And that can really hurt your career and your draft stock. And sometimes you do get lucky getting drafted out of high school like a Kwame Brown, because people don't really know what to expect. They're just drafting you off potential. And we see some guys like DeMar DeRozan come in as a project. Giannis came in as a project. You know what he can be. You hope he can be it. But you still got to want it. You still got to put the work in. You still got to be confident. You still got to go to work every day with the determination of adding to your game and getting better. And I don't feel like Malik Newman really added enough or changed enough or did enough to show that he's a better prospect than he was last year, and he's a significantly better prospect from high school to college. I don't feel like he proved either one of those. I feel like the other two people, Duncan and Matt, I feel like at the end of the day, they just found better talent and better fits and better potential. They are who they are, um, and they got the best out of their talent in college. They just wasn't good enough to get drafted, but the teams that they went to, they have a chance to make a name for themselves, and they can still fight to follow their dreams of getting to the NBA. But as you've seen in the title, this is a top 5 list. This is my top 5 undrafted free agents. Um, Going into the season of Summer League. Dakota Mathis. This is a good pickup. He might not make the roster by the end of the year. He might make the roster at the beginning of the year, but he might get waived. So if somebody else best come available, I like him because you can try him out in Summer League. Like I said, put him in systems, make him. And I mean, see what you can really get out of him. See if he really wants it. Is he more hungrier now that he went undrafted? Um, I think that's the thing with all these players after seeing that they didn't get their name called and that dreams of getting drafted didn't come true. It do put that fire under your belly that you got more work to do. So I think Dakota is definitely a good player. That's why I had him at 5. I know people would disagree, some people wouldn't. Um, but at the end of the day, that's something that you have to consider that a lot of these players are great players. They're good enough to make it to the league. It's just unfortunate that they couldn't get there. But it's part of the game. It's part of being in the NBA. It's a job now. It's no longer you're doing it for fun. And Theo Pinson is my number 4. Um, at the end of the day, I feel like it depends on where you go. And Brooklyn Nets is a team that's trying to get as much young talent as they can to either get assets or find another superstar. They drafted decently, and now they went quickly into the undraftedness to find a guy that they wanted. You want to draft the people that's your priority. Theo wasn't a priority in the draft, so they drafted the players they needed. But at the same time, he was a priority when he went undrafted. So this is a guy they've been interested in. This is a guy that they've been liking. They just didn't. He wasn't their number 1 priority and number 2 priority in the draft. But as soon as they seen that he was available, they rushed and gave him a contract. And I don't blame them. This team has Jahlil Okafor. This team has D'Angelo Russell, Spencer Dinwiddie. They don't really have an identity. They don't know what they're trying to do. They're just trying to find a way to get those 2 max contracts to either get a superstar or continue to take contracts to get more picks in the draft. And they're using their unrestricted free agent in their G League and their Summer League to find and develop talent that could potentially be stars. So Theo had a lot of promise. Some of us mostly thought he was going to get drafted. Didn't happen, so they ran right to him and gave him a contract to try him out. You're not going to be paying them that much. You don't have really any guarantee. So you're not really losing anything out of this but experiments and then seeing if he fits and getting to know him as a person and see how hard and how much he wants this NBA lifestyle. So they rushed to get him undrafted, and he has a chance to make his dreams come true and play in the NBA. Another guy that I personally like is Gary Clark. So one thing I say about Gary Clark is that you basically have to get the best out of your potential. And like I said, it's not really at the end of the day, it do depend on where you go and how they utilize you and how the system is. He had a good system in college, made him look better than he really is probably, but you also don't have the right amount of time in college because you play less games, and at the end of the day, that could hurt you considering that people are always looking in the longer also you stay in college, the more times people can pick apart you as a player. That's something that we all know, and that's something that we definitely have to consider when going into this undraftedness. Um, Let me see. Alonzo Trier is number 2 for me. I like this guy, and he was one of those guys. As soon as he became available, they rushed and gave him a contract. Um, it's all about fit with him. I feel like just like Dakota and Malik Newman, you have to continue to strive. You have to continue to show improvement, or you will get passed up, and you will not be drafted unless you have some freakish athleticism, some long, lanky arms, or some physical tools that another person can't offer. And he was a guy that even like Gary Clark, um, Gary Clark going to the Rockets. The Rockets, they like the two-way player. Remember, they pick up KJ McDaniel. They pick up Trevor Ariza. They pick up Chris Paul. They want those two-way players, and that's why, like I said, Gary Clark was a good pickup for Daryl Morey and the Houston Rockets, because this is something that they always do. The last couple of years, they're trying to find those two-way players. So he fits with the Rockets, and that's what I'm saying about Alonzo. It really do matter where you get picked and where you get drafted at. One of the better things about being undrafted is you can earn more money because you're a free agent. So if you play well above your means, you can get paid more. Like a Wesley Matthews, everybody else that got drafted underneath where he's supposed to get drafted got paid 1, 2, 3 million. He get paid 5 million the minimum because he made a roster and they had to pay him the minimum, and now he's getting paid more than them. And then he actually made it even further by getting the extension, even with Dallas. That does matter. And I feel like Alonzo, I'm surprised that he actually dropped out of the draft. But he's a guy that the Knicks need. Porzingis going to be out for majority of the year. Because tearing his ACL, they're trying out Frank Ntilikina. They're trying out Trey Burke. They're trying out Emmanuel Mudiay. They're trying to find some talent. And then they also have Kevin Knox. So it's going to be plenty of opportunity for other players to show what they have. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to show that you belong in the NBA. Obviously, Kevin Knox is a guy that plays similar things as this guy, but they need depth and they need talent, kind of like the Brooklyn Nets, who is one of their brothers. So at the end of the day, you just blessed to make it to a roster, but at the same time, the Knicks is a place where you can really harness your opportunity because they really don't have no direction. Now that Porzingis is out, I think playoffs is out of the question. So he should be able to get a lot of minutes in the G League or Summer League, and he might even get a lot of minutes in the NBA, depending on injuries and depending on how hard he work and how much they respect him. If you get respect, they're going to give you playing time. If you get playing time, you got to go out there and prove that you deserve it. You go out there and prove that you deserve it. You get more minutes, and then it's the top is as far as you want to take it. So I like this pick number 2 for my list because he's going to a situation where they're trying to find talent, kind of like Theo. So that's one thing you definitely got to keep in the back of your mind, that a lot of these players are getting the opportunity of a lifetime. My last one, which is number 1, is Kendrick Nunn, an undrafted free agent. Um, he signed with the Golden State Warriors. Only reason why I like this is because he's a scorer, he's a weapon, and he's a guy that can do multiple things on the court. But the Warriors is a team that they have their big four making a massive amount of salary. Even if you include the other guy, Iguodala, he's a massive salary for his age. So one thing I like about them in the Spurs and the Thunder is that if they find a player in the draft, like they got Jordan Bell for cheap and he ended up playing significant minutes. They waited a while in the draft. They get Patrick McCaw. He played significant minutes last year. He even played in the NBA Finals. They was able to draft Kevon Looney. He was injured. He had the ability to take off time to get the surgery to come back healthy. He started getting minutes even in the playoffs. And I can see this guy being another one of them guys where next man up, somebody get injured, or they need somebody to fill this role for this particular lineup for this particular team. They have a guy that they know what they're getting. They have a guy that they know can play the game of basketball, understands the game of basketball, can impact the game in multiple ways, especially when it comes to scoring. And finding a guy undrafted like that is a steal, especially when you don't have the money to really go out there and get big name free agents because you have all of them. Not only that, you don't really have the veteran minimum to get all these great players, so you need to be able to go out there and get players for the cheap. And the cheapest you can get is basically an undrafted free agent that agrees to a basically nothing um, type of deal. So he's going to be in the NBA, I believe. I think he's going to make it. Summer League, we're going to see how he does there. I'm going to Summer League, like I said, so I'll definitely see him. I seen Steve Kerr last year. They do a good job of drafting. They do a good job of scouting. And as soon as he became available by being undrafted, they picked him up real quickly so they can try him out and see how he is. Worst case scenario, he gets waived. Best case scenario, he becomes a rotation player on this team, and he's going to be on the cheap. So the Warriors fans should be happy. You got a solid player that still can improve, but also knows who he is and know how to get the best out of the talent, which is Steve Kerr. So he's going to the better situation Worst part about it is you don't have the Larry Clark Theo situation where it may be minutes available for them to play, even though they are undrafted. He might not get superstar minutes, might not get 20 minutes, but at least he will play and he'll have a chance to win the championship. And on top of that, I think he really is going to make the roster. Honestly, that's why I have him as my number one. So let me know who you think the undrafted guys was that you think should have been on the list, that you personally prefer. If I slept on somebody, if I let somebody out, or you hire on people more than I am. At the end of the day, we discussing basketball. Have fun with it. And if you enjoyed the video, like. If you didn't, let me know. Check out my website, analysisPlayground.com. Link will be in the description in the comment section below. Check out my Facebook, analysisPlayground.com. Link will be in the description in the comment section below. And let me know who your favorite undrafted players and your favorite team is, and if you like their pickups after the draft.